The morning sun had barely risen when Rowan Mercer realized his world might fall apart again. He stood in the small, cluttered kitchen of his rented house, staring at the lunchbox he had accidentally left empty. His hands shook, not because of the missing sandwich, but because he knew today was the day everything would come crashing down at work. His boss, Sabine Holt, had been on edge for weeks. Rumors said upper management was cutting staff. And Rowan, the quiet, single dad who was always running late, always juggling life on a frayed string, felt like the perfect target. As he tightened his tie with trembling fingers, a knot formed in his throat. Because no matter how much he held his life together, today felt different. Today felt like the world was preparing to test him in a way he wasn't ready for. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and stories that restore faith in humanity, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to our channel, Everyday Kindness. Your support helps us bring more heartwarming stories to life. Outside, daylight spread across the sky as Rowan hurried his daughter Maren into the car. She was 9, observant, and wiser than she should have been for her age. She noticed the faint tension in her father's smile and asked him if he was okay. He reassured her with a soft nod, hiding his fear behind the gentle, fatherly calm he had mastered over the years. After dropping her off at school, he drove to Holt & Pierce Logistics, trying to breathe normally as his mind raced with the possibilities of being fired. The company parking lot gleamed under daylight, and the glass building reflected a brightness that felt almost mocking. Inside, the office buzzed with the usual mix of chatter, printers whirring, and footsteps echoing along polished corridors. Rowan walked to his station, tucked between 2 tall partitions, and opened his email. His heart sank when he saw a new message from Sabine marked urgent. She wanted to see him in her office within the next 10 minutes. His palms grew damp. He felt the walls closing in. Sabine Holt was brilliant but strict, sharp-minded, and always impeccably put together. She had a reputation for demanding perfection, and Rowan, with his messy life and imperfect timing, often found himself on the receiving end of her piercing gaze. As he approached her office, he mentally replayed every mistake he could have made, from a delayed report to missing a team meeting last week because Maren had woken up sick. Sabine looked up as he entered. Her eyes were striking but unreadable. She gestured for him to sit, and he felt as if he were sinking into a chair made of quicksand. She told him in a calm but firm tone that she had noticed inconsistencies in his recent performance, late submissions, and a lack of focus. Rowan's chest tightened. He wanted to explain, to say he was trying, that being a single father meant living on a tightrope, but his words tangled in his throat. Sabine dismissed him with instructions to fix the issues immediately. For the next few weeks, Rowan fell into a relentless rhythm, working late, skipping lunch, barely sleeping. The office became a battlefield where every task felt like a test he was close to failing. Sabine's presence grew heavier, her expectations tighter. She stopped giving him any leniency, and though she never raised her voice, her disappointment stung deeper than anger ever could. Every day, Rowan drove home exhausted, forcing a smile for Maren, hoping she wouldn't see the weight he carried. But she did. Maren always noticed. One afternoon, as bright sunlight filtered through the blinds of the quiet office, everything seemed to collapse. Rowan received a call from the school saying Maren had fainted during recess. Panic surged through him like ice. His supervisor wasn't around, so he rushed straight to Sabine's office, breathless, asking for permission to leave. She looked up at him, her expression stern, and for a moment he feared she would refuse. But something in his desperate eyes made her pause. She nodded and told him to go, her voice unexpectedly soft. Rowan didn't wait a second. At the hospital, he learned Maren had suffered dehydration and stress. He realized with a painful wave of guilt that she had been worrying about him more than he knew. Maren told him she saw how tired he was, how sad he looked when he thought no one was watching. He held her hand and promised things would get better. But deep down, he feared they wouldn't. Returning to work the next morning, Rowan braced himself for consequences. Sabine called him in again, and this time she didn't talk about missed deadlines. She surprised him by asking about Maren's condition. Her tone was gentle, almost unfamiliar. Rowan told her everything, including how hard it had been balancing fatherhood and work. It was the first time he had spoken so openly. Sabine listened, really listened, as if seeing him clearly for the first time. Over the next days, a change slowly spread between them like sunlight warming a cold room. Sabine began leaving quiet notes on his desk, reminding him to take lunch. She adjusted his workload slightly, never mentioning it out loud. She asked about Maren during brief encounters in the hallway. Rowan didn't know what had caused her shift, compassion, guilt, or something else, but he felt the weight on his chest lifting, even if only a little. One late afternoon, when the office was bathed in warm golden light and most employees had already left, Rowan stayed to finish a report. Sabine stepped into his cubicle unexpectedly. She noticed how drained he looked and invited him to her office to talk. He followed reluctantly, uncertain of what she wanted. Inside, with sunlight shining across her desk and softening her usually sharp features, she apologized. She admitted she hadn't realized the pressure she had been placing on him. She said leaders should know the lives behind the workload, and she had failed to see his. Rowan felt something shift inside him, a mixture of relief, gratitude, and the strange sense of finally being understood. For a moment, neither of them spoke. The quiet felt fragile. Then something happened that neither expected. Sabine stepped closer, emotion flickering in her eyes, and before Rowan could process what was happening, she leaned in and kissed him. It was gentle, hesitant, filled with a warmth that caught him completely off guard. The shock left him breathless. Sabine pulled back immediately, realizing what she had done, her face flushing with embarrassment. She apologized again, stumbling over her words, saying she didn't want him to feel uncomfortable. But Rowan didn't feel uncomfortable. He felt seen, really seen, for the first time in years. From that day on, the air between them changed quietly, but unmistakably. Sabine became someone he could trust, someone who seemed to care beyond the boundaries of professionalism. She occasionally brought Maren small gifts, books she thought she might like. She checked in on Rowan, not as his superior, but as someone who wanted his life to be a little easier. The tension that once made him dread mornings now began to feel like a quiet anticipation. Weeks passed, and the bond between them strengthened in small, meaningful ways. Rowan found himself looking forward to work again. He even started bringing Maren to the office on certain days when childcare fell through, and Sabine always greeted her with warmth. Maren liked her instantly and even teased her father about smiling more. But nothing in life, Rowan believed, came without conflict. One day, a rumor spread around the office that Sabine was being considered for a promotion that would transfer her to another branch. The news hit Rowan harder than he expected. The thought of losing her presence, her support, her quiet kindness, felt like losing something he didn't realize he needed. Meanwhile, Sabine wrestled with her own dilemma. The promotion was a dream she had worked toward for years, but the thought of leaving behind her new connection with Rowan filled her with doubt. The tension grew subtly each day, even as they tried to act normal. On a particularly bright morning, Rowan walked into her office to deliver a file and found her sitting silently, staring at the offer letter. She looked conflicted and heartbroken. She admitted she didn't know what to do. Rowan felt the fear of loss rising in his chest like a wave. He wanted to tell her not to go, but he also didn't want to hold her back from her ambitions. He walked away that day feeling more uncertain than he had in months. The world suddenly felt fragile again, as if happiness was something always slipping through his fingers. But later that evening, as he packed up his things and prepared to pick up Maren, Sabine approached him in the hallway. She told him she had made her decision. She wasn't leaving. She said life had a strange way of giving second chances when people least expected them, and she wasn't going to walk away from something that had just begun to grow. Rowan felt a wave of emotion wash through him so strongly he could barely speak. Sabine smiled, the kind of smile he had never seen from her before. Soft, hopeful, vulnerable. If this story touched your heart, or made you believe in the power of kindness, love, and unexpected second chances, please like the video, share it with someone who needs hope, comment your thoughts, and subscribe to Everyday Kindness for more uplifting stories. Special request, comment. Second chances matter if you believe everyone deserves one. The weeks that followed unfolded like sunrise, slow, warm, and beautifully inevitable. Rowan found balance in his work and home life. Sabine grew closer to him and Maren, becoming a steady presence rather than just a distant figure of authority. They weren't rushing anything. They weren't defining anything too quickly. They were simply choosing each other every day, learning how to heal past wounds with small acts of understanding. And in the soft brightness of everyday daylight, something remarkable happened. Rowan realized he wasn't surviving anymore. He was finally living. And for the first time in years, he believed that maybe, just maybe, love had found its way back to him, disguised at first as the boss who drove him crazy, until she kissed him and everything changed.